conversational evangelism, going to clubs, doing whatever it takes to find out what does it take to get non-Christians into your small group. That's something that might scare you. What else? Doing your learning together in the dorms, getting involved in a social group together, and learning how to, reveal Jesus in that place. Something maybe your little group has something interesting in common, and you're on the ultimate frisbee team together. Conversational evangelism, friends and gigs. Okay. Next, the final one is anointing. So you've identified, you've gathered. Now you need to anoint. Students, you can anoint each other. You can have a staff anoint you. It could be like, okay, we're committed to this. Let's ask our staff to kind of just anoint us, or you anoint each other, whatever. And you bust out your oil and you anoint each other. Where's my little thing here? Yeah, you know what you can do? You can order this stuff in these little vials, and you hold them with you. Mine's got frankincense and myrrh. This is like good enough for Jesus, good enough for me, It's got cinnamon in it, it smells nice. I prefer anointing oil that doesn't smell chemically, but it smells kind of like spicy. So get some anointing, make your own anointing oil. Yeah, hold it up, you can throw it over here. You can order these things by the bucketfuls, come smell mine. Anoint each other, staff anoint people, and make it intentional, memorable, personal, and symbolic. And finally, translating experience from moments to movements. Students, if you're in a group, you need to ask as you're going through the year, how is our experience giving us ideas for new ministries or changes in the current structure? How can we involve others in this? This is what you're asking, students. How do we give everyone a chance to experience what we're experiencing? That's the attitude you want. You do not want to, how do we get everybody to be evangelists? Huh? No. You want to have an experience that's giving you so much joy. You're just having moments where, this is a rush. How does everybody get in on this? That's when you're ready to really start talking to, getting other people involved. The main thing is that you're thinking, how can we invite the rest of the fellowship? How is this useful to the rest of the fellowship? And amazing ideas will come in that kind of context. And then finally, I think you need to think, staff, like Ashley, you need to think about students who are gifted in evangelism, and if they're in current structures where they cannot express that gift because they're tied down with Christian leaders, you need to ask, how do you need to reposition them in your ministry? If you've got a small group coordinator and you've got a lot of small group leaders and they don't want to move in evangelism, are you going to let that evangelistically gifted leader wither under your watch? Are you going to do that? I've had that happen to me. I watched Michelle Wong wither under my watch. A gifted evangelist leading the dorm ministry, didn't know how to get beyond caring and nurturing the Christian leaders into the lives of non-Christians. She withered that year and just petered out and just died. Fortunately, God revived her and she's doing other things, but you've got to identify these guys in your current structure and ask yourself, are you helping them find places with non-Christians? Are you feeding that fire that God's given them? And if not, you need to have the guts to help them, if they're willing to, get out of that position and do something, even if it causes some transition. Don't do it abruptly. Don't do it without discussion and prayer, but you may need to make that call. Maybe that small group coordinator tries a Bible study with you that invites non-Christians, something like that. Okay. All right, let's move on to our topic. Let's move on to session. Thank you, Hannah. Let's move on to session 3, culture of response. Can we shift gears? Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So you're suggesting to spend time with a smaller group and let that group change before you try and move a larger group?
Yes. When we're with our Christian community, having non-Christians is like that friend invited into the best friend circle. And that's why it's hard for Christians. Because now they can't just use their language and talk about things and do things assuming everybody knows what they're doing. When you have the new friend in and everyone's laughing about a story about last year how, Frank got stuck in the toilet, you can't go, oh, yeah, remember that time Frank? Oh, that was sweet. The other person's like, looking, So someone has to stop and go, oh, man, let's tell, Dave the story. Dave, okay. And he's now engaged. He's invited. You've stopped. You've paused, and you've said, "Hey, let's tell Dave the story." Now you're sharing your story with him. This experience with him. Now he gets to be a part of it, and he gets invited into it, right? It means being willing to stop in conversations and pause and ask, is this person comfortable? Are they being included? And it's not very uncommon to have your best friends getting into a rhythm of laughing and joking, and this other person's still kind of left out, right? They're sitting there kind of, so this is what I want to apply as we think about worship and preaching. You with me? When it comes to large groups and our preaching and our worship, we need to ask, how are we including our non-Christian friends into the best friend circle, into the circle of trust, right? So we'll start with preaching. When I have my staff get ready for their messages, I try to challenge them on two simple things that include non-Christians in the story, in your preaching. Number one, when you're preaching, ask yourself, when in your message will you specifically address the non-Christians in the room? And when you address them, how will you address them? What will you call them? Sinners. Yes, the sinners and pagans. Oh, yeah, pagans, man. Woo! Glad to see some pagans here. Hey, pagans, you got to first think about how you're going to address them. Non-Christians here? Is non-Christians the word you want to use? I don't know. Hey, people here who are, you got to think that through. How will you address them? Number two, how in your message will you have moments where you pause in your thought to go, how can I include a non-Christian in this application, in this moment, in this thought? And you talk to them. Go, hey, for some of us who are not really familiar with Christian culture, maybe this whole Christian thing is like totally new for you tonight. Let me tell you what this is about. Right? That's how I'm talking to the non-Christian. I didn't use non-Christian, right? But I'm talking to people who are not Christian. You break something down and you explain it to them. So include them in the conversation, speak directly to them. And I recommend doing it at least 2 to 3 times in your talk. You should pause and go, hey, for those of us out here, maybe this whole real spirituality thing is totally new. If you have Catholics in your crowd, and they're a minority in your crowd, maybe you say, hey, maybe you like, being in this kind of Christian environment is totally new, or being around a bunch of Protestants is kind of crazy for you. Or however you want to explain, you want to invite them in. The next one is you make applications specifically to them. You not only acknowledge them, but you apply to them. You think, what does this mean for a non-Christian? Because it may not mean the same thing for a Christian, although in many cases it does. You need to draw to mind as you prepare your message non-Christians that you personally know. And ask yourself, that's how I do it. When I'm preparing a message, I don't think theoretically, I just picture one non-Christian that I know that I talk to, and I think, what would I say to them? And I talk right at them. Literally. I'm talking to that person that night. And I make an application to them. Number 3, you're framing a response to the message that includes them. So you address them, you apply to them, and now you invite them to respond. That may involve a couple of things. You may challenge them to make a next step. You don't always have to challenge non-Christians to become Christian. Sometimes you can challenge them to take a next step. Hey, for those of you here tonight who are exploring Christianity and looking into this Jesus guy, I want to give you a challenge. I want to challenge you to take a next step tonight. And maybe for you it means blah, 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 right? With me? One great challenge I love giving is maybe for some of you guys it's admitting that the Christian friend that God's put in your life is God's way of reaching out to your life. What if that Christian God put in your life is God himself trying to tell you that he loves you? Because that's the way God works. It's through people. What if you ask your Christian friend your 3 biggest questions about Christianity, about Jesus, or about religion? What if you just took some time and really were honest with them about your questions? Stuff like that. That's stuff you can do to challenge them to take a next step. You're challenging them to take honesty. Now the Christian's going, oh my gosh, you're talking to my friend and me. It's powerful. It draws them into the message. It's pretty cool. Okay. When you're having the response time, which I'm going to explain in just a minute, you'll see tonight we have a very specific time of the night which is for response. We challenge them to respond. We've done application, now let's respond right now. It's some kind of symbolic gesture that helps them make tangible the spiritual step of faith they're making in their hearts. It comes at the end of the message. Usually the speaker will finish their message, the body of their message, and say, hey, I want us to reflect on this. There's a couple specific things I want you to be thinking about as you reflect on